Welcome to the Success Journey Show. Let's travel together through the lives of individuals on the road to success.
All right, travelers, we are here. We're back with you for our favorite segment of the show. And as you all know, we start this segment with a guest, and this guest comes from guests from all around the world. Right? And today we are honored to have Pavel Noah of Aeon join us today. Pavel, how are you today? Or Noah, whatever one. Like, Noah, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. I'm so honored to be here as well. And thank you guys so much for opening this to the world.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, man. We're honored to have you join us today. Why don't we start off by you just sharing a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I am born and raised in Czech Republic, living in US today, and I think I'll share some of the pivotal moments because I think that's what really has got me to where I am today. But I think, like everybody, I've been on this journey through self-transformation, and in an early stage of my life, it began wanting to be a professional athlete, wanting to travel, wanting to get out of Czech Republic, which is a great country, but it's nothing like progressive America in a lot of ways, where it is still until today the land of opportunity. And essentially, I did make it to professional cyclist when I was about 17 years old. And I also got a choice from my father to either go to school and your life is paid for, or do your little cycling thing and your life is not paid for. And so essentially, I started my first company, my first business at the age of 17. And during this time, I found a niche. So I was in a bike industry. So my friends, didn't have money to pay for these expensive carbon frames, and basically I found them directly on Alibaba. And this is 12, 13 years ago. And I'm so sorry, guys. Maybe can we pause real quickly? Do you hear the thing? Somebody keeps on calling the room.
Okay. Oh yeah, no problem.
Yeah, pause.
Yeah, and so basically, I found a niche, and this is I don't know, over 10 years ago, when Alibaba was not as trusted as it is today. And so I basically, I found the frame, I put a picture from Alibaba, and I placed it on eBay, and then I sold the bike on eBay, and then I shipped it directly from the factory to the end user. And so basically, my first business cost me exactly zero. and essentially what I ended up doing after was I every city that I went into to race on the bikes, I would start contacting and talking to the local bike stores. And I basically told them, you need your own carbon bike frame. And basically, they, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. These guys, they keep on calling.
Go ahead, take it. Go ahead and take it.
Oh my gosh, because I don't think they'll stop. Please forgive me.
No, you're good.
Perfect.
All right, go ahead.
Awesome. No, so basically, went from town to town, and then what I did is I started talking to these bike stores, and actually later on even to automobile companies like Dodge, or that they have their bikes. That essentially, instead of me recovering and going and doing my races, I kept on being on a call with the factories and figuring out the orders, because this was basically a business that ended up outgrowing me while I was still, racing so many days, I don't know, 20,000 miles a year on a bike. And so in this process, I hit my first wall, and basically I got chronic fatigue, Epstein-Barr. I was sick every 2 weeks because I completely overblown my health. And I essentially, in a Czech national race, my body shut down and I woke up in the hospital, which led me to, having to stop cycling. And so instead of, all of the ideas and thoughts and all the goals I had to race Tour de France and everything was just shut. And so when it got shut, I basically moved to America. And, at first I wanted to figure out a business to, be able to qualify for visa, because there's a, whole bunch of restrictions that go into that. And so long story short, I was on a hunt. So I found this sushi restaurant in Boulder, Colorado, that ended up
Colorado. Yeah. I've
that,
been there.
nice. That, did end up working, but within 3 months, it didn't qualify because you have to have certain amount of employees, then certain amount of income. And, in restaurant business, nobody shows profit. It's the reality. And because nobody wants to pay taxes. And so with me going into, to the councils, it basically didn't qualify. And so then I moved to Hawaii and I ended up finding Tutti Frutti frozen yogurt chain, and essentially, put all of the baskets into this, that hopefully this is going to work out. So that ended up qualifying, and essentially, I got really fed up with making people fat, because what a lot of the frozen yogurts say is very much out of the health alignment. And that's let's put it there without any further judgment. And and even though it's marketed as this healthy, beautiful thing, it's absolutely not. And so I kind of hit another wall of what am I doing? Like, I want to do something meaningful and purposeful. And so I actually moved to Tampa, Florida for a while, and I ended up finding Orange Theory Fitness. And so I went in there as an, ex-athlete that understands, high intensity interval training and also heart rate monitors. So it really intrigued me. And this is when I was about 22 years old. So I literally drove across the country to meet the CEO and president. And this is when there was about, 6 locations open, five employees in the whole company. And now it's over 2,000. So just to give you the difference, what happened, it basically became $1 billion fitness franchise. And so I go in there and I'm like, I have some history in business. I really would like to franchise, this thing. And they politely told me that yes, if I can figure out all of the disclosures and funding within 2 days, then I can have the state of Georgia. And so I always say, I think that was their polite way to F me off. And and I ended up getting it. So I ended up figuring it out, and I was on a drive to Atlanta, which I've never been to before. And essentially, here's this kid, with his girlfriend at the time, that is about to go open all these franchises. Now, I committed to all of these units in this territory, and essentially, within 6 months, we became the fastest growing region in the entire chain. And I think I put all the endurance, from sport into this, and, to sit 7 hours a day on a bike, or to do, 15, 16-hour work days. It was so much easier for somebody that was brutally, training. And so I ended up partnering with the CEO and president, and then we ended up building this fitness empire from New York, South Florida, Georgia, Oregon, Nevada, San Francisco, Hawaii, and it ended up being the thing that I, for the next 6 or 8 years, I was just going all out for. Now, in this process, we ended up, managing upwards 100 locations with about 500 employees under my belt, and essentially we grew this amazing thing. Now, as a lot of people, they would think that they hit the dream, right? They have all the income, the everything that we might dream of, but I ended up being depressed again, and I ended up being on this soul search, again. And so during this time, I committed myself that every 3 months, I'm going to do something ridiculous, something out of comfort zone that's going to be working on my spiritual side of things. because that's what I was lacking the most. It wasn't, this goal, this dream, and all of these things that we might think we want and have, but it was like, what is actual true meaning of life, and what is happiness, and how do we get that? And so I went into all of these crazy things. So I spent, 30 days with the samurais in Japan, learned how to be a samurai. I did a Zen master training with the monks, where they literally walking behind you and they'll hit you with the stick if you don't if you start drifting off from meditation. Then I went into Brazil to spend time with the psychics and learn about mediumships and psychicism. And it wasn't until I went into a dark room where I spent 10 days in complete darkness with no food, no light, in the middle of Thailand, where the light finally turned on for me. And basically, I've trained under some of the most fascinated, teachers and gurus and healers. And in there, the message was so clear. So it took me about 7 days before I finally let go of my mind. The monkey brain is the hardest part, not the food part. And when I faced it, I finally had this peace. For the first time in my life, I looked at myself for who I am, not for who I am not. And when I say who I am not, the society tells us you got to have money and go to school and the traditional package, right? Like, how do we become these factory workers of the 1% instead of, how do we bring equality and opportunity and love for this world? And so that to me was so clear. So day 7, I literally saw this thing, Noah Aeon, which means Noah means movement. Aeon is all or none. And I had this message that after being in self-mastery for so long, it's time to service. It's time to service others. And it's time to help others find their own journey through self-transformation, so they don't have to go through these brutal, up and downs and switches that I went on. And so I walked out of there and I decided, I want to sell pretty much everything. I'm done with this. I don't want to be in this business environment. And I basically started this brand. Now, for me, it started first with finding my passion, then purpose, and then legacy. And just to give you this is really like high level, but one of the things that happened for me after was I lost everything. I had all this cash flow and I had all of these, means and businesses. But when I decided to go into service, I went into this complete utter extreme. And I think a lot of people go through these switches in life, where they go into something and they shave off everything. And now I know, like, it's not the way to do it either. There is a balance, and that's really what my brand symbolizes. It symbolizes how do we get into the middle, into the harmony, where we realize the happiness, health, and harmony in all aspects of our life. Now, in this process, I've always been intrigued by company culture and by purpose. And I literally, I would go into these courses, learn from people like Tony Hsieh with Zappos, about self-management and, love marketing and how do we bring consciousness to business, or purpose to profits, another term that I actually spoke on for a while before. And in that place, I was so sick and tired that, like, why only few people are, business owners, and then the rest of the people, are basically slaves to their environment. And so I was so intrigued by self-managing and self-governance, as well as how to remove these hierarchy systems, that it's actually one of the things that brought me down. Is I created self-management in all companies, where I removed the managers out of positions. I put their salaries into the into the low entry positions. And so, everybody was making $25 to $45 an hour base instead of, $10 to $20 an hour base. And so on that side, it was amazing. But what I learned through this is that not everybody was emotionally intelligent enough to take this responsibility. And I failed in this miserably at first, until, all of these hard, expensive lessons came through. And so, when I left and when I finally started doing what I'm doing today, I basically, defined my passion is music. So I learned how to produce music and I learned how to DJ, and I went into this whole musical realms of existence because I wanted to change the way we listen to music. So I use solfeggio frequencies on a modern beat. And in Atlanta is actually where I started the whole musical or DJ journey. And then my purpose became these immersive experiences and workshops and retreats to basically package all of those tools that I've learned. And I picked the ones that had science behind them and I integrated them into everyday life. And so what we teach now is, how do you go through this journey with balance, with harmony, where you don't have to lose everything to gain everything. And in the process, you don't lose yourself, which is the most important part. And then my legacy is, so I've integrated that everything that we touch now from a business side, it is here for the greatest good of the whole, whatever it's education, our e-commerce, digital marketplace, or the businesses that we invest into, it all has to be here, to raise the frequency, raise the vibration on earth. And everybody has to be treated equally, from members, vendors, staff members. And so, the path that I'm in now, I basically travel the world from city to city, country to country, and we have been blessed to work with, some of the most amazing people of this world that also are fed up with society, that also are fed up with, being limited and being told what to do, and they want to rise, they want to shine. And so I think that's some of the the stories I want to come across.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
Great, man. There's a lot to unpack
Yes.
here.
Yes.
But I would say, for everything that I've heard, one of the biggest things that resonates with me is just that commitment to finding what fulfillment means for you, right? And on that journey, you did some extreme stuff, dude. Like with the samurais, with the monks, doing 10 days of complete darkness, and fasting like that. People can't do 1 day of fasting. You're talking about complete darkness and fasting, right? It speaks volumes of you really trying to find who am I and how can what is my place in this world. So I really appreciate you sharing those things, man. But I love to walk through that journey with you. As you were on that path, right? You started off quick, getting in entrepreneurship, already thinking outside the box, like, all I need to do is start the picture, right? Everyone can just copy and paste the picture.
Drop ship.
Yeah, drop ship. Like, where did you start thinking about those ideas? Was it something that you always had that knack of being creative in that way, or I don't know the word, innovative in that sense, in that way, all your life, or how did that even come about? Even think to do that concept?
Well, so I think it started with a tough love for my father, right? So I think he always and my mother, they wanted me to make means for myself, and I think there was a point in time that it really hurt, because it made me mad, right? Like, I'm trying to do this thing, but that cycling thing wasn't in their way of thinking. Let's put it this way. But so maybe something I didn't mention. When I was 17, I also I paid my friend to finish online high school for me, because I didn't have enough time to attend. But also I failed the one in Europe, because so when I was cyclist, every 3 months I would go into school and fill up exams as so athletes had like an exemption that as long as you come in and get your test done and you pass, you're good. But the girls at the school always gave me all the answers, so I didn't have to study for it. But this one time, the teacher brought me into the teacher's room to have to do the exams just with her, and I was done. I knew nothing. I didn't prepare for anything. And I've been always extremely self-motivated, self-educated. So my whole life, I don't even know how many books I've been through or courses, and how much money I've spent on education. it's something ridiculous, because that to me, education equals motivation or inspiration. Inspiration gives you motivation, and motivation gives you results. So from young age, to answer your question, I was always looking after efficiency, and also how do I do things different, because I continue to question everything. And I think if I can give one lesson to everyone, it is to question why behind everything. Because when you question, you will start realizing, where did this thought come from? Did this come from my parents? Did this come from my grandparents? Did it come from the government that I'm part of? Did it come from a book? And if we continue to listen to the regular school system, and if we continue listening to, media and traditional news, then we're literally being packaged to see what they want us to see, and we're being limited. Now, if we want to live limitless life, then it starts with questioning that life. And for me, from young age, right, to be able to even think out of the box like this, it came with demand, need, and it also came with self-ownership. And I think one thing that I've noticed on my path is there are these J curves that happen. And so, at the beginning of the J is the idea, right? There's a thought that I want to start a new business. But then what most people don't realize is that it actually dips down before it goes up. And when it dips down, this is that flourishing, that, oh my gosh, it's brewing. But most people think that, oh, this is not for me. Maybe this was a bad idea. And people's doubts come in, people's mind come in. And so this is when you actually have to have the self-discipline and willpower to look into it and see and re-see it as, this means that we're actually going up, because how much more shit has to happen before you actually realize that it's going. And so I've learned this very early on. And to be honest, MLM helped me a lot. So I was part of like 3 or 4 different MLMs early stage. That's honestly, that's what taught me how to sell. That's what taught me how to network. That's what taught me how to do a lot of things.
We talk about that on this show, that all of us have, all big entrepreneurs has gone through some MLM, some form of MLM, and use that as a stepping stone to get to wherever they are. Your story, let's take this, and I know you're still on your path to figure out the whole sum of the equation, the Confucius, what is life all about, right? However, you have some guys that they'll probably go into Congress and they say, I'm going to change it by doing this, and then when they go there, they find out that the system doesn't really want to be changed. The system is the system, and it's there for a reason, right? When you went and you found the people, and I'm jumping just because it's so intriguing to me that you said, let me take managers out the equation, take that money, because you thought that money would be the motivator to say, I'm going to give it to the lower entry level people. But then you found out that people are all different. Not everybody, sometimes the money will come, but the person is just not a self-starter. They're not motivated through whatever. They have to have something in front of them to chase, a carrot, or you have to beat them with the stick like the monk did in order to get to their destination, right? So when you started to understand people's personalities and different way of thinking, and you went through all these different jobs, which I'm going to jump back to. I'm just intrigued by the humanistic or the personal learning people's personality. What did you start to understand about people, and that your way of thinking is not meant for everyone, and how did you accept that?
Yeah, so it was really hard, because in my eyes, right, I thought that people want to have responsibility, that people want to be that people don't want to be told what to do, right? That people want to be able to do this. So what I found was actually holacracy was like the way in between, where you do still have a manager, but not of the whole company, but of different regions of the company. So for example, if you have a marketing, there's a marketing one person that people report to, but everybody else is self-managed, that there's no hierarchy in between people. So later on, I actually found that like there's a medium approach to this. Number one. Number two, I cannot ever do it to existing company unless you do some sort of warm-up process and much deeper education. Even though we've educated everybody, we were just so far out from this methodology that it absolutely was not an interest of people. And then I also learned that not having synchronized why, like people might say that they're part of this group and they want to make a difference and but when you go deep into their core, like that's a problem. Like that core is not matching with what they're saying. And so honestly, I made pretty much every mistake in this process. But I did not. So I've always loved people. I've always seen the best in people, and that was a blessing and a curse. Because to always see a blessing in someone, you see them as like they're already who you want them to be. But to forgive myself and forgive them for not having to be that just yet, and having that time to develop is really important. But later when I started new companies, already from the beginning this way, it helped a lot because it didn't have the history.
Yeah.
So as intrigued as I am by this, we're working against literally systems that have been put in since we grew up. So there is a huge amount of just dissolution of people's belief system before you can even take them on this. And by the way, so I came with this 4-step process for this journey through self-transformation that can be applied to anything. So not just your health, not just your company. It can literally work in everything. And so in this process, it starts with wake up. There's an awakening phase where you realize that something in your life is not working. And whatever it's your relationships, whatever it's your physical health, your mental health, or any form, you have to first become aware that something is not working. Then once you become aware of that, you have to clean it up. So wake up, clean up is the second place or phase where you gotta shave that off. And whatever it's your negative habits, negative thinking, negative patterning, you have to let that go, so that way you can power up, which is the third phase of this journey. And when you power up, you bring the new stuff in. You bring the new education, new ideas, new companies, new anything that will support you. And then you got to rest up, the fourth stage, which is the process of unhooking. And in this process, if you don't unhook yourself at least once a day, once a week, a few times per month, you are going to be living this other life for somebody else, and you're not going to who you actually are. And so, at least 1 hour a day, I use no cell phone. I go into meditation. I spend time just with myself. And usually that's the first hour of the day before you do anything, because that's, determines your day. Then once a week, I turn off everything. So my computer, phone, I don't use any technology. And first part of the day I spend with just myself, and then family or kids or friends would be the second, where it's a process of reassessing where you are. And then 3 to 4 days out of the month, I do a longer one, because a lot of times people don't realize that they're off until the third, fourth day. It takes that long to really turn off for the nervous system. And, if you ever had a vacation, the first 3 days, you're like, I don't know what to do with myself. Like, the mind, everything's agitated. And then when you get to the last day, you don't want to leave because you finally dropped in.
Correct.
And then once a year, I spend 10 days in darkness. So I've now done it 4 times. So I did 40 days total. And maybe it's a 10 to 14 days of silence, but it doesn't have to be, full extent what I do. You could go into a cabin, you could go into a retreat, but there's a time that you just dedicate for yourself. And without these times, we don't allow to actually ask, what do we want? Is this serving us? What can we do better? And so in these times, I self-assess, and I use this process to basically look into my life and truly look into my life, right? Like, because a lot of times we lie to ourselves.
Yeah, what you're explaining is, to me, is you see people that plug out, right? You see a lot of lot of times in society that somebody's saying that I'm doing this for me, and they don't understand. I put something up on Facebook yesterday. It didn't make sense, but I wanted to see if people were either thinking deeper or like me when I first heard it. Erica Badu, she's one that does this meditation and all that. She said 95% of people are in this world are followers. 95. 10% are creators, and 5% are people that observe. But that wouldn't give you, that'd give you 110% of people, right? If you did the math. So probably you had to think a lot deeper that within that 95% of followers, you have people that you'll have 10% that'll come out to be those creators, and then 5% will be the observers. A lot of times people think they're doing things on their own thinking, and they don't understand when they put on whatever they put on or they act a certain way, they're doing exactly what everybody else is doing, and the matrix or the system is telling them to think, I'm independently thinking about this. But they're not.
Yeah.
They're doing exactly what everybody else is doing, but the system says to them, you are doing this on your own. You're not. So plugging out is very
That's
important.
Huge. Yeah, and it also goes to the fact of, we Marlon and I, we grew up Seventh Day Adventist, and one of the biggest things was taking the seventh day and resting, like unplugging, move that concept of unplugging and refocusing yourself. And, just that system and stuff. And as I was hearing you say, I take one day a week and I just move, I spend time with my family. I get off the technology. I do these things. I look at myself and self-reflect on where I am, what I should be doing. That's the concept, right? Because without being able to have that unplug, without being able to really recenter and refocus ourselves, like you said, we're going through that. We end up in that gerbil wheel, right? That wheel we're just moving, and then we end up moving aimlessly, right? Because we don't really take that time to know who we are. And I really respect what you're doing and how you do it. How do we share with people, or would you share with people to just take that first initiative of starting to have that separation, right? In those moments of separation.
Yeah, so I think first thing first, we really have to start looking at our life as an integrated approach to everything that we're doing. Because I used to be a one person at work, one person with family, and another person, at a gym.
Yeah.
Right. And so first thing first, we have to truly like dive in, right, into okay, what are the aspects of who I am and how do I spend time with this person who I am? And so for me, three of the most time spent is so number one is with myself, so exercise, sleep, health, mental health, like anything to do with yourself. Then the other time that you spend is with families, friends, and coworkers, relationships. And then the third time that we spend the most time is our career or job or business. Now, at the different stages of life, the hierarchy might look a little bit different. So if you are a mother, right, you're going to spend most time with your kids, and then career is going to go last. If you are a father, you're most probably going to spend the most time on your career, and I want to challenge that. So I think everybody should become selflessly selfish with who they are. Because if we don't first put ourselves in, it's going to be very tough journey because other things in life will be sacrificed. Now, in this journey, I've noticed that we really operate on three levels. It's actually quite simple. So there's the me, which is the single consciousness that you get to affect, which is your physical body, your mental body, emotions, and your spirit or your psychic connections, which I teach people. Anybody, this is not woo-wee-wah at all, and that's what I love, by the way, about the work that that our whole company does is that we're making things simple, accessible, and easy for everyone, because part of our journey is to shave off all of the mysticism that people might think, because it actually is way less mystical than we even realize. And I'll explain. So basically, in this journey, I first looked at my physical health. I was sick every 2 weeks. I had to figure that out. And I found that through biohacking. I went into a course, and I learned all about how to hack my own physical health. If you don't know the term, it's the father of biohacking is Dave Asprey, who I worked with very closely on both business and the speaker side. And essentially, if you read his book Headstrong or Bulletproof Diet, it's a great start for your physical health to get that in check. Now, when I healed my physical body, I start noticing my mind. And when I talk about my mind, I'm talking about the survival mind that is only here to do three things. It's feed, fuck, and fear. These are three F's that our survival mechanism is programmed. And if we continue being driven by these three F's, then we get in a lot of trouble. We also are constantly living in a quick self-gain, whatever it's sugar, whatever it's drugs, whatever it's alcohol. And we're just constantly looking to essentially be an animal, right? Now, this egoic mind has also a greater purpose, right? It's to book us for plane tickets. It's to create a new business plan. So there's nothing wrong with this egoic mind. The thing that's wrong is when it tells you that you're not good enough, when it gives you deceit, when it gives you forgetfulness, when it gives you fear. So part of anybody's entrepreneur journey is so much fear, so much doubt, so much of this monkey brain that just does not shut up. So having to face that, recalibrate that, and rewrite the thoughts you have about yourself and about another was a huge piece of my journey, especially when I unhook, I rewrite these thoughts. So anytime I get this negative set of thoughts, I literally write them down and rewrite the thoughts that I want to think about myself until they get programmed into your system. Now, that's the mind, right? Think about it this way. Your physical body is the hardware. Your mental body is the software. Now, what do you do when you download a new software? You connect to the internet. Now, what do we do when we want to download new software and ideas for us? We connect into the inner net, which is through meditation, through silence, through taking time off. Now, when I've noticed that the mind started becoming more powerful, then I figured out that there's these emotions that most men are not willing to face. And most men, we're taught that if we cry, that it's a weakness. We're taught that it's not okay to express them. But what do the women love the most? It is to talk about emotions and feelings. And so learning from women and integrating that masculine and feminine inside of each and every one of us is very crucial. And then facing your old traumas. So what I did is I did this 40 years of Zen training, which is some of the most advanced brain training you can do on planet Earth. And I go in there and literally you think that it's this advanced thing. And guess what they put you through for 5 days? Literally going back in time and thinking about when somebody hurt you, when did you hurt somebody? So simple, so basic. But they guarantee you a 92% increase in your creativity when you unlock your past bullshit. And so basically, huge aspect was emotional balance and stability. And that happens through looking back. And then the spiritual part of the single consciousness is connecting with this, with your higher self. Now, people believe that we have 5 senses, but what we're not taught at schools is that we have also 4 psychic senses that everybody has. And I'll show you how you have them and how we don't properly label them so we know how to use them. And I've learned this from the psychics in Brazil. And I came in there, didn't trust any of this, didn't think this was important, thought this was ridiculous. And then I started noticing, hold on, this is real. So everybody has a silent voice, right? We have the good voice, we have the bad voice. And I call it the Aeon voice and the Noah voice. The Aeon voice is the one telling me, let's do another drink, let's not go to sleep, let's take some drugs, and let's have some fun. The Noah voice is telling me, let's go to sleep, let's turn off the Netflix, let's get a healthy regimen. And so we bounce between these voices inside of our head. Now, the subtle voice has always our highest interest. So there's this little voice that keeps on telling us, at night, maybe go learn something instead of watching a movie, right? Maybe go start a fitness routine if you haven't been working out for a long time. And then the noisy voice is telling us, I'm too tired, I'm too like, I can't do it now. And that's the egoic self that we have to face, right? Now, when we start listening to the silent voice, life starts switching. And the way you start strengthening this muscle is you start acknowledging that voice. So when you hear something that's of your highest good, which is obviously always, it never will have your lower interest, you acknowledge it. You say, thank you, I heard that, and then you follow that. So that's your psychic hearing, or I call it the inner hearing gift. Then we've got something called psychic seeing, which is our visions, our ways that, especially entrepreneurs, they, see an idea before it ever happens, and then they bring it on into this day. Now, every major, inventor in the world, it came from somewhere else, and where it came from, it's these senses. So psychic seeing or lucid dreaming or visionaries have this strong sense. The next one is your psychic feeling. Those are feelers or empaths that can feel things in their body. And for example, if you go into a room and there was a fight, something doesn't feel right. It's like in your body that you feel this. You had a wrong feeling about that business partner, about that person. And so when that happens, same thing. Thank you. I felt that. That's how you strengthen that. And then the fourth one, the final one, is your psychic knowing or your intuition, which is you knew you shouldn't have gone to the party. You knew that partner would cheat on you or was stealing money. You just knew it. And when you think, you don't know. When you know, you don't think. So that's how you discern this. It's like this true knowing in your core. Now, at first, people have to start tuning in and listening into these and start believing and trusting in these. Now, I'm the first example of this where I didn't trust it at first, but then I start listening and giving it a chance. And now I'm only guided through these, and I actually use my analytical mind just to verify that what I'm getting, what I'm hearing, seeing, or feeling is right. So me was the huge piece of this. Taking charge of your body, mind, emotions, spirit, connecting is a massive shift to the single consciousness, so you can actually uplift. And when you do that, you move into the we, which is the collective consciousness. And when you start moving into the collective, then that's facing your relationships. What are the top 5 relationships you spend the most time with that are either giving you energy or taking you backwards in your growth? So relationships, environment is the other one, which is what water you drink, air that you breathe, food that you eat. And that completes the me, we. And then B is the supra consciousness, which is how did we get here? If we know that universe was created 13.5 billion years ago, like what a little drop that we actually have in this whole, world of universe. And so those are the 3 basically levels, 3 models that I look into and then I work through to basically come into the full harmony, happiness, and balance.
All right. So Pavel, I'm gonna tell you something. So Ricky, you talked about what Pavel talked about. So wording can turn some people off, right? Because some people don't believe in psychics and they don't believe in all that stuff. But when you explain what you're talking about, everybody has to agree with you. Because what Ricky says, we had an episode of Ricky said, have you ever when you said, man, lay down in the bed a little longer. Stay in the bed a little longer. You don't have to get up. Come on. You can take another 15 minutes. Forget the gym this morning. Yeah, right? Ricky talked about when you go through that and the fight you have to have about that. One thing I want to tell you that Ricky and we take for granted, but we have to come with the idea that everybody's not like us. So you said, I do it and I do it in the simple way. A coder thinks that what he's doing is simple. I could code, man. Why can't everybody can't understand this? I just take the keyboard and I do da 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 da, right? But what you just explained that somebody has to do, that's very difficult when they have been inundated with what the system wants them to believe. Don't take accountability for your actions. Everything is caused by somebody else. You don't have to, people should accept you for who you are. And so you don't have to do great things, or you don't have to, people should just accept you. I know you want to lose weight, but now they're body shaming you. So don't push more to be a person that says you're happy with not being healthy, not disrespecting anyone, but these are the things that society is saying to people to make them feel comfortable in their state. What you're saying, simple as it is that somebody has to come outside of that to understand that everything that they're talking about, everything that they're doing is BS. And they have to now realign with those 3 different levels to ensure that they're having harmony in life. And that's difficult. Pavel, I'm telling you, that is very difficult for people in this society today, especially that we're so plugged in.
Yeah.
So I don't know, from you traveling around, you've been to probably more countries than Ricky and I have, because right now you're in Malaysia, correct? I don't know if it's vacation or for business.
Yeah, business.
Okay. So you being able to travel to different environments, because, probably in Malaysia, they're not so plugged in, or maybe in Thailand, they're not so plugged in, or I don't know how it is. I travel, but I don't want to steer you down to the answer. What is the underlining, or what's your consensus of this simplistic way of realigning yourself? How do you see people throughout the world accepting this, and how easy it is for them to conform to it?
Yeah, so it's so interesting, right? So here's, maybe let's go from a neuroscientific perspective. In today's world, we chronically live in a beta brainwave, high beta, which is overactive thinking mind. We're becoming, we are living in a world of doers, which constantly just makes us not even realize who we are. And that's what to your point, right? That's exactly what the society wants. It just wants us to go from A to B to this, to stay busy, to watch the movies, to basically never, even touch close to that inner calling, right? Now, because of this, we've designed a set of tools, which we call system reset tools, which are actually extremely quick, effective. And that's why we use breathwork, meditation, sound healing, and frequencies all together in this format. We call it the BDM in our sessions to basically unlock that person from that busy beta thinking mind and bring them into that flow state or heart coherent state where they can actually start having their own downloads, their own realization. And so what happens literally from every city to every country, it's the same group, they're like, what are we getting into? What is it going to happen? And what is this? Now, we don't even introduce any of this. They don't introduce the me, we, be. We don't introduce, very little things, because the main goal is to go back into your being, go back into you getting your own answers and you understanding what are the top 3 things that you can do, each day, each month that will get you closer. And so what happens is, for those people that are ready, right, these people have been unhappy, right? So people that do come to these podcasts, to these, courses, to these experiences, they have been fed up with life, right? They have had enough of this, and they are looking for ways, where do I start, right? What do I do today? And so what happens with these sessions, and it happens every single time, everywhere, no matter where you are, because breath is universal. Breath is what you're born with. Breath is what you die with. But what you do between the first breath and last breath is what determines the quality of your life. I always say this. And because if you can tune into one teacher, it is your breath. When we get scared, when we go into panic, we stop breathing and we tense up. that gets us into fight or flight, and it gives us this whole hormonal response of stress, cortisol, which is exactly where they want us to be, and we're limited. Now, if you want to be one step closer to being limitless, you become aware of your breath in every situation. The ideal is about 5.5 seconds on inhale, 5.5 seconds on exhale, in and out your nose for longevity. Now, on top of that, you relax your shoulders, you relax your body. You become aware of not just you being on your phone or watching the sky everywhere outside of us. You actually fully are breathing in and out of your whole body, of your whole system in a relaxed state. And if you come into this place, then you can start hearing. You can start relaxing. You can start not overreacting. And you can go into that alpha, theta brainwave, which if we can bring the world more into these states, then we can bring more coherence. And I believe in this so much so that we're in about 3 months, we're releasing a EEG device that can be used in a group. I call it the Peloton for your brain, where it's just like Peloton, you have a bike and tracking. We're now able to determine how coherent or disengaged people are. And whatever we use it for companies or we use it for just self-growth and meditation and breath work, it works for both. And so that's something that is coming soon.
Oh man, dude, we're gonna need a session just to like break down these processes, right? This is something I believe that people should be practicing on every single basis, and is what really starts forming the true alignment of self. Like all the other issues, we're not going to solve, and my mom will always go back and forth like, why is everyone doing this? Why is everyone doing that? You know, they see things on social media, they see this, they see all that, but the root of it all is, how have you taken time to separate yourself, disconnect, realign with who you are, what your purpose is? If that's not happening, if we're not doing those things, then we'll never really get to that point of where we need to be. And so, man, I really appreciate you breaking these things down for us, because it is an affirmation for us, but also it also equips us as we move forward and as we're speaking with people and everyone, all the travelers right now. I'm going to challenge you, like today, like even if it's Pavel start off saying, an hour, all day, an hour, or whatever it may be. I mean, honestly, the way we are right now in this world, 5 minutes. 5 minutes separated from unplugging from your phone or not being distracted. Like start off with 5 minutes, right? And just make that a habit for your first week, and then add another 5 minutes, right? And you had 10 minutes, and then 15, 20. Just start that process of really figuring out how you can separate yourself, and you'll start feeling more centered. Right, I'm not even gonna say fulfilled yet. You start feeling more centered, right, in your fat. You're not easily swayed from the things that you see, the things that contribute to your day, or whatever it may be that trigger your feelings and things of that nature. So, man, Pavel, thank you so much for just sharing and breaking down these things. What I want to do before we let you go is, could you share with all of our travelers just where they can connect with you, find you, be a part of one of these experiences with you and your team?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for opening this. And so basically, we travel the world with immersive experiences, retreats, and workshops, as well as we have a on-demand library where people can actually experience these meditations and breath works and things that I've talked about. And we also have a series of courses that actually help people, guide them through this from their home. And if you've never done, deep breathwork journey, if you've never done any of these, so this is not another meditation. This is actually extremely effective way to move into these transcendental states, as if you were on psychedelics or any of the therapeutical, drugs that are being now used for depression and beyond. And it takes people there without using anything. And so that's what's so powerful. And basically with today, we're giving a free on-demand library, so you'll get an access to our library, so you can actually try this. It's at the noaaon noaaon.com, and then we're also going to give you guys a free recording, so you can actually maybe we can do like a bonus recording, do a quick system reset. And that way, anybody from anywhere can do a 10 minutes. And that's literally all I need is just give me 10 minutes so you can see what this can do for you. It's literally that effective. And so, and then, of course, Noah Aon official on any social media.
Yeah.
Love it.
Pavel, we're serious about coming back and breaking down some of these systems. I'm tempted. Well, when we get back in the green room, I want to talk to you about some other stuff. Off mic. I believe in the breathing. I'm military, so I've been in situations where what you hear is your breath. When you go into that, what you're talking about, the fight or flight mode, you're hearing your breathing. You're hearing things are it's just like it's crazy. And a lot of times for me, and Ricky could tell you, like the world could be falling around me. I'm not even kidding. The world can be falling around me, and I'll just be like, okay, can I right now at this present moment, can I affect anything? Can I change any of my circumstances? If I cannot, I have to accept what's going on right now and find a way to do it without panicking and going to this crazy mode of whatever happens to a lot of people. I'm very intrigued with what you're doing. People, like I said, a lot of people, Ricky and I, back, I'm gonna tell you, a couple of years ago, or probably just by you saying the word psychic, would have been like, okay, all right, Pavel. Yeah, man. But when you explain, and I'm telling you, I walk into a room and I'll be like, man, I never met this person before, but there's something about this person that I don't like. And I'm going to say I'm always right, but 95% of the times, if like you said, I knew I shouldn't have done nothing with this person right here, man. My mind was telling me that this person's this or that or this or that, right? This is a very intriguing topic, and I think this will help people to unlock what they're really looking for, because a lot of people talk about they're 40 years old, I just found myself, right? Or they're 50, I'm just realizing who I am. And that's because what you talk about, how do you know who you are if you are at odds end with the three people you are, the one at work, the one at home, and the one that you're at the gym or somewhere else? Who are you? What are you pretending to be? Can you love yourself for who you really are? Do you need anything else to say that I can love myself for all these different things? It's very intriguing. I don't want to take too much of your time because I know you're over there in Malaysia and you're doing your thing, and Ricky is where he is. I'm where I am right now, but definitely want to bring you back on so we can talk about some of this stuff and even break down, go into more granular explanations, because we did give them a high level briefing. Some of this stuff was very deep, that our audience are travelers could understand exactly how to implement these things, or go onto your website. I don't want to say too much anymore. Rick, back to you.
All right, cool, man. That was good.
Sorry,
Man,
I was preaching.
Yeah. I was like, man, we gotta wrap it up. We gotta go into another whole podcast. Yeah.
It was the warm up for the next one.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Pavel, man, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate everything that you've shared. Any closing words you would like to say as we really?
Yeah, I think I would say it in a simple ways. It's to be, do, and have. Most people live the opposite. They have to have the right time, partners, relationships, money before they do the right steps and action, and they never become it. But in life, it works the opposite. You take the time off to be it, embrace it, and feel it. Then you take the right steps, find the right tribe, find the right money, and then you have the results as a natural flow of life. And that is to be, do, and have. Thank you guys so much for having me here. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. All right, travelers, we'll see you guys next week at the same time at the same place on the Success Journey Show. Everyone have a good one.